He said, "I will only stop when my heir is in your womb." And she signed the contract anyway because she was desperate. 30 days of being owned by Kai Young, the ruthless billionaire who bought her husband's gambling debts just to get to her. But here's the twisted part. She's falling for the man who destroyed her life, and she just found out she's pregnant with his baby. Welcome back to Proudly Black Stories, my beautiful, amazing Pride family. You all have been so supportive, and I promise to always try my best to give you the best stories as I learn and improve every day. If this is your first time coming across my video, do comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe to officially join the Pride family. Now, brace yourself for another wild ride. The rain fell like punishment over Bristol's Avon Gorge, each drop hammering against the cliffside with a violence that matched the storm inside Elena Rossi's chest. It was 2 in the morning, the kind of hour when the world felt like it belonged only to ghosts and broken people, and she supposed she qualified as both. Her fingers trembled as they clutched the crumpled suicide note, the ink running now from rain and tears until Davian's final words were nothing but blue streaks across paper. 3 months since she'd found him in their bedroom, 3 months since the police had ruled it an accident, 3 months of living a lie while the debt collectors circled closer and closer. £847,000. That's what her dead husband's secrets cost. What his midnight poker games and desperate bets had accumulated in the shadows of their marriage. The Harbour Light Inn, the only thing her parents had left her, the place where she'd raised her son, where every floorboard held a memory, it would be seized tomorrow. The foreclosure notice sat in her car, as final as a death sentence. She stood at the cliff's edge, not because she wanted to jump. God no, she had a 6-year-old son sleeping at her sister's house who needed her, but because she needed to feel something bigger than her own destruction. The wind whipped her dark hair across her face, and she closed her eyes, letting the rain wash over her like a baptism she didn't deserve. That's when she heard it, the purr of an expensive engine, smooth and predatory, cutting through the storm. Headlights swept across the darkness, and Elena turned, squinting against the brightness. A sleek black Bentley pulled up along the clifftop road, so out of place in this desolate hour that for a moment she thought she was hallucinating. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, and even through the rain, even in the darkness, Elena felt the air change. He was tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the kind of confidence that came from owning everything he touched. A black suit clung to his frame, and as he came closer, she saw his face, devastatingly handsome, in a way that felt almost cruel. Dark eyes that seemed to see straight through skin and bone, sharp jawline, lips that looked like they'd never smiled at anything that wasn't bleeding. "Mrs. Rossi," he said, his voice low and smooth, the kind of voice that made promises in the dark. "I've been looking for you." Elena's heart kicked against her ribs. She took a step back, closer to the edge. "Who are you?" "My name is Kai Young." He said it like she should know the name, like it should mean something, and bad as she wanted it not to, it did. Young Hospitality Group, the empire that owned half of Bristol's luxury properties, the billionaire whose face occasionally graced business magazines with headlines about his ruthless acquisition strategies. And you're standing in the rain at 2 in the morning, shaking like a leaf, about to lose everything you have. I own your debt now, Elena. All £847,000 of it. The world tilted. She'd known someone had bought the debt from the original collectors, some faceless corporation, but this man, this devastatingly beautiful predator, he owned her destruction. "Come to gloat?" Her voice came out sharper than intended, fury mixing with desperation. Something flickered in his dark eyes, something she couldn't read. He took another step closer, and she noticed he was getting soaked, rain plastering his black hair to his forehead, running down the sharp planes of his face. He didn't seem to care. "Get in the car, Elena. You're soaked, you're shaking, and if I'm going to make you an offer, I'd prefer you conscious to hear it." "An offer?" She laughed, the sound brittle and broken. "What kind of offer could you possibly make?" He extended his hand, palm up, rain pooling in it. The kind that saves your son's home, the kind that gives you a way out. But we're not having this conversation in a storm. Get in the car. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but where would she go? Back to the sisters' cramped apartment where her was sleeping, to explain that tomorrow they'd be homeless? To the harbour light, to watch them chain the doors? She looked at Kai Young's extended hand, at the Bentley's warm interior visible behind him, and she thought about her son's face when he'd asked why they had to leave their house. Elena took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm despite the rain, strong enough that she felt claimed just from that single touch. He led her to the car, opened the passenger door, and the blast of heat that hit her face felt like stepping into another world. Leather seats, the smell of expensive cologne, dashboard lights glowing soft blue. She slid in, and he closed the door with a soft click that sounded like a prison cell locking. He came around, settled into the driver's seat, and suddenly the space felt too small. He was too big, too present, too everything. Kai shrugged off his suit jacket and handed it to her without a word. Elena stared at it, at the obvious expense of the fabric, then at him. "I'll ruin it. I have 30 more. Not a request, a statement." She wrapped it around her shoulders, and God, it smelled like him, like sandalwood and something darker, something that made her think of silk sheets and bad decisions. The car pulled away from the cliff, and Elena watched the edge disappear in the rearview mirror. "Where are we going?" "My place. We need privacy for this conversation." Kai's hands were steady on the wheel, and she noticed his knuckles, scarred in a way that suggested he'd hit things, or people, before. "Tell me about Noah, your son." Her blood went cold. "How do you know my son's name?" He glanced at her, those dark eyes unreadable. "I make it my business to know everything about my investments. He's 6, loves dinosaurs. Currently believes his father died in a car accident because you're a good mother who doesn't want him to know the truth, what actually happened to his father." Elena's hands clenched into fists. "You had me investigated." "Yes, for months." He said it without shame, without apology. "I know everything, Elena." "That's insane," Elena said. "Call it whatever you like." The Bentley turned onto Bristol Harbour's waterfront, toward the gleaming high-rises that overlooked the water. "I don't make offers without research." They pulled into an underground garage, all concrete and echoing silence, and Kai parked in a spot marked "Reserved Penthouse." The elevator ride up was quiet except for the hum of machinery and Elena's racing heart. She should be terrified. She was terrified. But underneath the fear was something else, something hot and forbidden that made her skin prickle every time Kai stood too close. The elevator opened directly into his penthouse, and Elena stepped into a space that looked like it belonged in magazines. It was beautiful and cold and completely impersonal, like a very expensive hotel room. "Sit." Kai gestured to a leather sofa. "I'll get you something to drink." He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, amber liquid, and set one in front of her on the glass coffee table. Then he settled into the chair across from her, close enough that she could see the water still clinging to his eyelashes, and steepled his fingers. "Let me lay this out simply. I need an heir. My cousin Draven is attempting a hostile takeover of Young Hospitality Group. The board has given me an ultimatum: produce a biological child and secure my bloodline within 30 days, or they vote me out and hand my empire to him." Elena stared at him. "What does that have to do with me? You need your debt erased and your inn returned. I need a woman to carry my child." He said it like he was discussing a business merger, clinical and cold. "Live with me for 30 days. Share my bed. Carry my child. In exchange, the £847,000 disappears, the Harbourlight Inn transfers to your name, debt-free, and you receive £500,000 in your account the day you conceive." The room spun. Elena grabbed the whiskey and downed it in one burning swallow. You want to buy me? I want to make a transaction. You give me what I need. I give you everything you need. Kai leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and those dark eyes pinned her in place. It's just business, Elena. Business? Her voice cracked. You're asking me to sleep with you, to get pregnant with your child, and you call that business? What would you call it? She stood, fury propelling her to her feet. Prostitution, surrogacy, insanity. Take your pick. Kai stood too, and suddenly he was in her space, towering over her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off his body. I'd call it survival. You can leave right now. Keep your pride intact. Go back to your sister's apartment and explain to Noah tomorrow why men are putting chains on his home. Or you can sign a contract, give me 30 days, and walk away with everything you need to build a life. I barely know you. You'll get to know me very well. His voice dropped, intimate and dark. Intimately. Elena's breath caught. She looked up at him, at this beautiful predator offering her a devil's bargain, and thought about Noah's face. About the Harbourlights gardens, where her mother used to grow roses. About the crushing weight of debt that had been choking her for 3 months. Why me? Something flickered across Kai's face, too fast to read. Because you're perfect for what I need. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. He walked to his desk, pulled out a contract easily 30 pages thick, and set it down with a heavy thud. Read it. Every word. I'll give you an hour. Elena approached the contract like it might bite her. The first page was simple, parties involved, date ranges. The second page made her stomach drop. Exclusivity clause. She would live with Kai Young for 30 consecutive days. Physical intimacy clause. She would share his bed and engage in sexual relations for the purpose of conception. Compensation terms, all debts erased, property returned, £500,000 transferred upon confirmed pregnancy. Her hands shook as she flipped through page after page. Medical care provided, non-disclosure agreement. Custody arrangements. If conception occurred, she would carry to term. But Kai would have primary custody with visitation rights negotiated separately. You want to take my baby? The words tasted like ash. Kai was pouring himself another whiskey. I want an heir. But I'm not a monster, Elena. Look at clause 18. She found it. If the mother wishes to maintain a relationship with the child, joint custody arrangements will be made in good faith, with the mother's housing and financial needs provided for in perpetuity. You'd let me see my own child? How generous. The sarcasm dripped like poison. I'd let you be a mother, which is more than you'll be able to do when you're homeless and broke. Kai's voice was hard now. Businesslike. I'm not the villain here, Elena. I'm offering you a way out of a hole you didn't dig. Your husband was weak. He made bad choices. He left you to deal with the consequences. Kai came to stand beside her, looking down at the contract. I'm giving you a choice he never did. Power, agency, a way to save everything that matters to you. Elena looked at the pen sitting next to the contract, expensive and heavy. What if I can't get pregnant in 30 days? Then we part ways. You keep the inn, the debt's still erased, but you don't get the 500,000. His hand came to rest on the desk beside hers, not touching but close enough that she felt claimed anyway. But I'm betting you can. You're young, healthy, fertile. You already proved that with Noah. This is insane. This is business. Stop calling it that. She whirled on him, and suddenly they were inches apart, her chest heaving, his eyes blazing. You're asking me to let you, a complete stranger, inside my body, to create a life, to give you a child. That's not business. That's... Kai's hand came up, fingers trailing along her jawline so softly it felt like a whisper. Yes, it is, and I won't pretend otherwise, Elena. When you sign this contract, you become mine for 30 days. Mine to touch, mine to taste, mine to mate with, until my child is growing inside you." Heat exploded through her body, shocking and unwelcome. She jerked back. "You're insane." "I agree." He didn't follow her, just watched with those predator eyes. "I won't lie to you about what this is. I need an heir. I want you. This arrangement satisfies both needs. Sign or don't, but decide now, because my offer expires when the sun comes up." What would you do if you were in Elena's position, faced with an impossible choice between pride and survival? Elena looked at the contract, at the pen, at this devastating man offering her salvation wrapped in sin. She thought about Davian's note, about how he'd taken the coward's way out and left her to burn. She picked up the pen. Kai watched her sign each page, his dark eyes tracking every movement of her hand, and she swore she saw something possessive flash across his face when her signature appeared on the final page. He counted signed with swift efficiency, then placed the contract in his desk drawer and locked it. "You'll move in tomorrow," he said. "Back to business. My driver will collect you at noon. Bring whatever you need, clothes, personal items. Noah will stay with your sister as planned?" Elena nodded, her voice lost somewhere in her throat. "Good." Kai pulled out a black American Express card and held it out to her. "Buy whatever you need. You're mine now, and I don't do shabby." She took the card with numb fingers. The weight of it felt obscene. Kai stepped closer, and his hand came up to catch her chin, tilting her face up to his. His thumb brushed across her lower lip, a touch so intimate it made her knees weak. "Just so we're clear, Elena, when I say you'll share my bed, I don't mean you'll sleep in the guest room and I'll politely knock. I mean you'll sleep in my bed, under my body, and I'll take you whenever I want. Morning, noon, or in the middle of the night, when I wake up hard and hungry for you." Her breath hitched. She couldn't speak, couldn't think past the heat in his eyes. "Do you understand?" His voice was velvet over steel. She swallowed hard. "I understand. Say it properly." "I understand. I'll share your bed." The words felt like surrender. His smile was slow and predatory. "Good girl. Now, tomorrow night when you move in, don't wear anything to bed. I won't let you keep it on anyway." He released her chin and stepped back. "My driver will take you home. Get some sleep, Elena. You're going to need it." The ride back to her sister's apartment passed in a blur. Elena sat in the back of the Bentley, wrapped in Kai's jacket that still smelled like him, the black card burning in her pocket, and wondered what she'd just done. Sold herself. Sold her body. Signed a contract to let a stranger, a beautiful, dangerous stranger, use her for 30 days. She touched her flat stomach and thought, "What kind of mother am I?" "The kind who survives," she answered herself. "The kind who does whatever it takes." The next day moved like a dream. Elena packed a single suitcase, her hands shaking the entire time. She held Noah tight before leaving him with Teresa, breathing in his little boy's smell of sunshine and innocence. "Mommy has to work, baby. I'll see you very soon." "Where are you going?" His dark eyes, so like his father's, looked up at her with complete trust. "Just helping someone with their business. I'll call you every day." She kissed his forehead and left before he could see her cry. The Bentley arrived at exactly noon. The driver, a stoic man who introduced himself simply as Mikhail, loaded her single suitcase with the kind of efficiency that suggested he'd done this before. Had there been other women? Other desperate souls who'd signed Kai Young's contracts? The penthouse looked different in daylight, less like a fortress and more like a beautiful prison. A woman waited by the elevator, late 30s, sharply dressed, with eyes that missed nothing. "Mrs. Rossi, I'm Sable, Mr. Young's personal assistant. He's requested I show you to the master suite." Elena followed her through the sprawling space, past the living room with its panoramic views, past a kitchen that looked like it belonged on a cooking show, down a hallway lined with abstract art. Sable opened double doors at the end, and Elena's breath caught. The bedroom was enormous. A California king bed dominated the space, dressed in black silk sheets that looked like sin-made fabric. Tall windows overlooked Bristol Harbour, the water sparkling in the afternoon sun. A fireplace, beautiful furniture, and everywhere the sense of Kai, his scent, his presence, his ownership. "Mr. Young will be home at 8, Sable said, her voice professionally neutral. "He's requested you wait for him, in here. The closet has been stocked with clothing in your size. The bathroom is through that door. If you need anything, press 9 on any phone." Then she left, and Elena was alone in Kai Young's bedroom, in the space where he slept, where he would, her mind shied away from the thought, but it came anyway, where he would take her tonight. She explored like a prisoner, memorizing her cell. The closet was a room unto itself, and true to his word, it was full of clothes. Designer labels she recognized from magazines, dresses and blouses and pants and shoes, all in her size. How had he known? The surveillance, she remembered. He'd been watching her for months. The bathroom was marble and chrome, with a shower big enough for 4 people and a tub that could double as a swimming pool. She showered, scrubbing off the previous night's rain and fear, and tried not to think about what was coming. At 7:45, she stood in front of the closet, wrapped in a towel, staring at the negligées and nightgowns, hanging like silent accusations. "Don't wear anything to bed," he'd said. "I won't let you keep it on anyway." But she couldn't. She wasn't ready. She needed some barrier between her skin and his hands. She chose a simple white nightgown, modest, high-necked, armor disguised as sleepwear. At 8:03, the bedroom door opened. Kai stepped in, and Elena's heart kicked into a gallop. He looked different from last night, if possible, even more devastating. Dark slacks, white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that made her mouth go dry. His tie loosened like he'd been pulling at it. His dark eyes found her immediately, standing by the window, and he smiled. Not warmly, predatory. "You wore clothes to bed." He closed the door behind him with a soft click. "I'm disappointed." Elena lifted her chin. "I'm not going to parade around naked for you." Kai's smile widened as he shrugged off his jacket, draping it over a chair with casual grace. "You misunderstand. I don't want you to parade. I want you bare because I'm going to strip you anyway, and I don't like wasting time." Each word was measured, deliberate, as he crossed the room toward her. "Take it off, Elena, or I will. You know you don't have to always act like a psychopath." Elena blurted out before she could stop herself. "I'm paying £847,000 for you. I'd say I'm quite sane." He stopped in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes, and his fingers came up to toy with the strap of her nightgown. Last chance. The air between them crackled. Elena's hands trembled as they reached for the hem of her nightgown, as she thought about Noah, about the harbour light, about survival. She pulled the fabric over her head in one swift motion and let it drop to the floor. Stood before him bare, skin prickling in the cool air, chin lifted in defiance even as shame burned through her. There, happy. Kai's eyes went molten. He circled her slowly like a shark, and she felt his gaze on every inch of her skin. "Not yet," he murmured, coming to stand behind her. His breath was warm against her neck. "But I will be. Soon." His hands settled on her waist, large and warm and possessive, and Elena's breath stuttered. He pulled her back against his chest, and she could feel every hard plane of his body through his clothes, could feel the evidence of his arousal pressing against her lower back. "You're trembling," he whispered against her ear. "Fear or anticipation?" "Both." "Honest. I like that." His hands slid up her ribcage, maddeningly slow, until they cupped her breasts. Elena gasped, her head falling back against his shoulder. I'm going to learn everything about your body tonight, Elena. Every sound you make, every place that makes you shake, every way to make you beg." "I won't beg." He laughed, low and dark. "Yes, you will." Kai turned her in his arms and walked her backward toward the bed, his eyes never leaving hers. When the backs of her knees hit the mattress, he pushed, gentle but firm, and she fell onto black silk that was cool against her heated skin. He followed her down, bracing himself above her, caging her with his body. "You're mine for 30 days, Elena, every inch of you." His hand trailed down her stomach, between her thighs, and she jerked at the intimate touch. "And I'm going to make sure every part of you remembers who you belong to." He caught both her wrists in one hand and pinned them above her head, his grip firm but not painful. His other hand continued its exploration, fingers sliding through her folds, finding her wet despite her protests, despite her shame. Kai's smile was triumphant. "Your body's more honest than your mouth." Then he was kissing her, claiming her mouth with a hunger that stole her breath, and his fingers worked between her legs with expert precision. Elena tried to fight the sensation building inside her, tried to hold on to her anger and fear, but her body betrayed her. Her hips lifted into his touch, chasing pressure, chasing relief. "That's it," Kai murmured against her lips. "Stop fighting. Let me have you." His fingers slid inside her, 2, then 3, stretching and filling, his thumbs circling that bundle of nerves that made her vision go white. Elena heard herself making sounds, desperate pleading sounds, and hated herself for it, even as pleasure built like a wave. "Look at me," Kai commanded, and her eyes flew open. "I want to watch you fall apart." He curled his fingers, pressing some spot inside her that made her back arch off the bed, and the orgasm hit like lightning. Elena shattered, crying out, her body clenching around his fingers as pleasure rolled through her in devastating waves. Kai watched her the entire time, his dark eyes drinking in every expression, every gasp, possessive and hungry. When she finally went limp, trembling and boneless, he withdrew his hand and brought his fingers to his mouth, tasting her. Delicious. He released her wrists and stood, and she watched through heavy-lidded eyes as he unbuttoned his shirt. The fabric parted to reveal a chest that looked carved from marble, all defined muscle and golden skin. A scar ran along his ribs, white and puckered. When he unbuckled his belt, the sound of leather sliding through loops made her stomach clench. He stripped efficiently, no show, just pure masculine confidence, and when he was finally bare, Elena couldn't help but stare. He was beautiful everywhere, powerfully built, and his third leg stood thick and hard, flushed with arousal. Fear spiked through the haze of pleasure. Kai settled between her thighs, his weight pressing her into the mattress, and positioned himself at her entrance. He caught her chin, forcing her to look at him. "I'm going to take you now, Elena. I'm going to fill you, claim you, make you mine in every way." He pushed forward, just the tip, stretching her. "I will only stop when my air is in your womb." He entered her slowly, deliberately, watching her face as her body struggled to accommodate him. He was big, bigger than Davian had been, and the stretch burned even as something dark and forbidden inside her thrilled at being taken. Claimed, owned. "Breathe," Kai commanded, and she realized she'd been holding her breath. She exhaled shakily, and he pushed deeper, inch by relentless inch, until he was fully seated inside her. They both groaned. He stayed still for a moment, letting her adjust, his forehead pressed to hers. "You feel like heaven wrapped around me." Then he started to move, long, deep strokes that lit up every nerve ending. His hands were everywhere, claiming, possessing, learning her body like he'd promised. He whispered filthy things against her skin, his voice rough with need. "That's it, take all of me. You were made for this, made to take every inch of me. Don't hold back those sounds, Elena. I want to hear you scream my name." The pleasure built again, impossible and overwhelming, and Elena found her hands digging into his back, her legs wrapping around his waist. She hated that it felt good, hated that her body responded to him like it had been waiting for this, for him, but she couldn't stop. The orgasm caught her off guard, slamming into her with brutal intensity. Elena screamed, his name torn from her throat, and felt Kai follow with a guttural groan, his body going rigid as he spilled inside her, hot and deep and claiming. He collapsed on top of her, both of them breathing hard, sweat slicking their skin. After a moment, Kai rolled to his side and pulled her against his chest, his hand splaying possessively over her stomach. "Sleep," he murmured into her hair. "We're doing this again in a few hours." Elena lay in the darkness, trapped in the cage of his arms, feeling his release inside her, and tried not to cry. What had she become? But Kai's hand on her stomach was warm, and his breathing evened out into sleep, and despite everything, Elena felt safer than she had in 3 months. She drifted off, wondering what that said about her. The next 4 days passed in a blur of silk sheets and gasped breaths, and Kai's hands on her skin. He took her every night, sometimes twice, once in the morning before he left for work, with his hand clamped over her mouth to muffle her cries. He was insatiable, and her body, traitorous thing that it was, responded every time. But there were other things too, things that confused her. The tea waiting every morning, the way he raised the temperature in the penthouse when he noticed her shivering. The video call he arranged with Noah without being asked, letting her see her son's smiling face while Kai worked quietly in the background. On day 5, Elena stood in the doorway of Kai's home office and watched him eviscerate an executive over the phone. His voice was surgical, precise, destroying the man with businesslike efficiency. "If you can't deliver results, Thorne, I'll find someone who can. Clean out your desk." He hung up without waiting for a response. That night, Elena tried to create distance. She was terrified by the way her heart jumped when she heard his key in the door, by the way she found herself listening for his footsteps. This was a transaction. She couldn't afford to feel anything. But at dinner, Kai noticed immediately. His dark eyes tracked her movements as she pushed food around her plate, as she avoided his gaze. "Why are you pulling away?" "I'm not." He set down his fork with deliberate precision. "You're lying. Stop calling me a liar." "Then stop lying." Kai stood, walked around the table with that predatory grace, and pulled her chair out. He lifted her easily, setting her on the table, plates and glasses shifting. "You've barely looked at me all day. You think I don't notice?" Elena's hands pushed at his chest. "What do you want from me, Kai? You bought me. You own me for 30 days. I'm giving you my body. What more could you possibly want?" His hands gripped her face, forcing her to meet his blazing eyes. "I want you to stop pretending you don't feel this." He kissed her hard, demanding, stealing her breath. "I want you to admit that when I touch you, you burn, that when I'm inside you, you forget to hate me." The truth of it, the horrible truth, shattered something inside her. Elena slapped him, hard, the crack echoing in the dining room. Kai's head snapped to the side. Silence. Then he laughed, low and dangerous, turning back to her with a smile that was all teeth. "Do it again." "What?" "Hit me again, Elena. I like you angry." She slapped him again, and he caught her wrist, his smile widening. "There she is. There's my fierce girl. I'm not yours." "Yes." He pushed her back on the table, his body covering hers. "You are." They came together with desperate fury, both trying to hurt the other, both needing to prove something. Kai shoved her dress up, tore her underwear, the sound of fabric ripping obscene. His belt hit the floor with a clatter, and then he was inside her, one brutal thrust that made her cry out. "You can hate me all you want," he growled against her throat, his hips snapping forward with punishing force, "but your body doesn't lie." Elena's nails raked down his back, drawing blood, and he groaned. "Feel that? Feel how wet you are for me? How perfectly your cunt takes me?" She hated that he was right, hated the pleasure-building despite the anger, despite the confusion. his hand fisted in her hair, pulling her head back, exposing her throat. "Say my name, Elena. Say it." "No." He angled his hips, hitting that spot inside her that made stars burst behind her eyes. "Say my name." "Kai!" It tore out of her, helpless and desperate. "That's my good girl, mine." He drove into her harder, chasing his own release, and when the orgasm hit, Elena screamed his name like a prayer or a curse. She didn't know which anymore. Kai followed with a shout, spilling inside her, claiming her again. Afterward, in the wreckage of dinner and torn clothing, Elena cried. The tears came before she could stop them, overwhelming and devastating. Kai stilled above her. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. He pulled out carefully and gathered her in his arms, carrying her to the bedroom. Set her on the bed and wiped her tears with his thumb, his touch gentle in a way she didn't know he was capable of. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For what?" "For making you feel anything for a man like me." His voice was rough, broken. "You deserve better." Then he left the room, and Elena lay alone in his bed, wrapped in his scent, carrying his child maybe, and didn't know whether to scream or cry harder. How can you protect your heart when your body has already surrendered? She found him later, sitting in his office in the dark, a glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. She should have left him there, should have gone back to bed. Instead, Elena crossed the room and stood in front of him. "I do feel it," she whispered. "I do forget to hate you, and it terrifies me." Kai looked up at her, his dark eyes wounded in a way she'd never seen. "I didn't plan this. Falling for you. That wasn't part of the deal. Falling for me." He stood, set the glass down, and cupped her face with both hands like she was something precious. "You consume me, Elena. Every thought, every breath. I went into this wanting an heir. Now I want you more than I want my next heartbeat, and I don't know what to do with that." She kissed him then, soft and seeking, and he responded with a tenderness that made her chest ache. They made love on his office floor, slow and sweet and devastating, whispering truths they'd both been trying to hide. After, wrapped in each other, Kai's phone buzzed. He ignored it the first time, the second time, the third time. He cursed and reached for it. Elena saw the text over his shoulder. "I don't care if Draven suspects something. She's mine now. He can't touch her." She went still. "Who's Draven?" Kai's face shuttered. "No one. Business. You just said he can't touch me." "Drop it, Elena." "Like hell I will." She sat up, pulling on his shirt. "Who is Draven, and why would he want to touch me?" Kai ran a hand through his hair, looking suddenly tired. "My cousin, the one trying to take my company. He's been asking questions. About you, about why I bought your debt. I think he knows about our arrangement." Cold dread settled in Elena's stomach. "What does that mean?" "It means I protect what's mine." Kai pulled her back against his chest. "And you're mine, Elena. No one touches you. No one hurts you. I'll burn the world down first." The possessiveness should have scared her. Instead, wrapped in his arms, Elena felt safe. On day 10, Kai took her to a charity gala at Bristol's prestigious Arnos Manor. Elena wore a crimson silk gown that clung to every curve, diamonds at her throat and ears, all purchased with his black card. His hand stayed possessively on her lower back the entire car ride, his thumb stroking small circles that made heat pool low in her belly. "You're beautiful," he murmured against her ear. "Every man in that room is going to want you, and they're all going to know you're mine." The gala was everything Elena expected. Wealth on obscene display, champagne flowing, people in designer clothes discussing seven-figure donations like pocket change. The whispers started the moment they walked in. "Who is she? Is that Kai Young's girlfriend? He never brings women to events." Kai seemed to enjoy it, keeping her close, introducing her as simply Elena, with a possessive smile that suggested volumes. They were talking to a board member's wife when Elena felt eyes on her, heavy and assessing. She turned. A man stood across the room, watching them. He was handsome in a way that was almost pretty, blonde where Kai was dark, with green eyes that gleamed like a cat's. He raised his champagne glass to her in a mock toast, and something about his smile made her skin crawl. "That's Draven," Kai said quietly, his hand tightening on her waist. "Stay close to me." But Draven was already approaching, moving through the crowd with easy charm. Up close, he looked like Kai's opposite, warm where Kai was cold, approachable where Kai was intimidating. "Cousin," he said smoothly. "What a lovely surprise. And who is this vision?" Kai's voice could have cut glass. "None of your concern, Draven." Draven's smile widened. He turned to Elena, extending a hand. "Dance with me?" "No," Kai said flatly. "I wasn't asking you, cousin." Those green eyes never left Elena's face. "One dance? Surely Kai isn't so insecure he can't share for 3 minutes." It was a challenge, a test, and Elena, still angry at Kai from the other night, still confused by her feelings, made a mistake. She took Draven's hand. "One dance." Kai's face went cold, carved from ice. "Elena?" "It's just a dance," she said, but she felt his fury like a physical thing as Draven led her to the dance floor. Draven was a good dancer, smooth and graceful, his hand respectfully placed on her waist. "You're even more beautiful up close," he said as they swayed. "Tell me, how much is my cousin paying you to play his girlfriend?" Elena stiffened. "Excuse me?" "Oh, come now. Kai doesn't do relationships, he's too damaged for that. Whatever arrangement you have, just know he'll discard you the moment you're no longer useful." Draven's smile was kind, sympathetic, deadly. He did it to his wife. The world tilted. His wife? Juliet? He hasn't mentioned her? They were married for 3 years. She died in a car accident along with their unborn son. Tragic, really. Kai was never quite the same after. Draven twirled her gently. "Just be careful, darling. My cousin collects broken things. And when they're no longer interesting, he throws them away." Before Elena could respond, Kai cut in, his hand on her wrist, bruising. "We're leaving. Kai, you're hurting me." He didn't release her until they were in the car, the privacy screen up, speeding through Bristol's streets. The silence was suffocating. In the penthouse, Elena rounded on him. "What the hell was that? You manhandled me like I'm property." "You are my property," Kai bit out, "for 20 more days." The words hit like acid. "Is that what your wife was too?" Kai froze, his back to her. When he turned, his face was a mask. "What did he tell you?" "That you had a wife, that you discarded her, that you collect broken things and throw them away." Elena's voice shook. "Is it true?" For a long moment Kai said nothing, then, in a voice devoid of all emotion, "Her name was Juliet. We married young, too young. She got pregnant 2 years in. I was happy for the first time in my life. Then one night, she was driving home from a dinner party. Her brakes failed on a hill. The car went into the harbour." His jaw clenched. "They found her body 3 days later. Our son died with her. He would have been 5 now." Tears pricked Elena's eyes. "Kai, I'm so sorry. He held up a hand. "Don't pity me. I don't want your pity, Elena. I want—" He stopped himself, then crossed to her in 3 strides, backing her against the wall, his body caging hers. "I want this." He kissed her desperately, hungrily, like he was trying to devour her pain and his own. "I want you. Not as a transaction. Not as a replacement for what I lost. You." His hands tangled in her hair, tilting her head back, and Elena kissed him back with equal desperation. They shed clothes between frantic kisses, a trail of silk and designer labels leading to the bedroom. Kai pressed her against the wall, lifted her, and she wrapped her legs around his waist as he pushed inside her with one deep thrust. "You have no idea what you do to me," he groaned against her neck. "I could have you every hour of every day and still want more." He took her against the wall, hard and fast and desperate, then carried her to the bed without pulling out, laid her down and made love to her slower, deeper, his eyes locked on hers. "Tell me you love me," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Just for tonight, lie to me if you have to." Elena cupped his face, feeling her heart crack open. "I love you." He came with a shudder, breathing her name like a prayer, and afterward held her so tight she could barely breathe. "I didn't choose you because you look like her," he whispered into the darkness. "I swear, Elena, this is about you." Later, while Elena showered, Kai opened the drawer of his nightstand. Inside was a silver locket. He opened it with trembling fingers. The photo was of a woman, dark-haired, delicate-featured, smiling at the camera with joy in her eyes. She looked hauntingly like Elena. He closed the locket and hid it again. What secrets would you keep to protect someone you love, even if those secrets could destroy everything? On day 15, halfway through their arrangement, Kai came home early with a strange expression on his face. "Pack a bag," he said. "We're going somewhere." "Where?" "You'll see." They drove for an hour, leaving the city behind, and when they finally pulled up, Elena's breath caught. The Harbour Light Inn. Her inn. But it looked different. The sagging porch had been rebuilt, painted fresh white. The gardens bloomed with roses and lavender. Through the windows, she could see new furniture, fresh paint, everything restored and beautiful. "You did this," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Kai came to stand beside her. "You'll get it back in 15 days. I wanted you to have something worth coming back to." Elena turned to him, overwhelmed. "Why? Why would you do this?" For once, Kai's mask slipped completely. He looked vulnerable, almost afraid. "Because you love this place. And he stopped, swallowed hard. "I'm falling for you, Elena, and I don't know how to stop." Her heart stuttered. "Say it again." "I'm falling for you." "No, that's a lie. I've already fallen." He cupped her face with both hands. "I'm in love with you, and I don't know what to do with that." Elena kissed him, soft and sweet, tasting salt from both their tears. They made love in the inn that night, in the master bedroom that had been her parents', on sheets that smelled like lavender. Kai was gentle, reverent, worshipping every inch of her skin. "I want a future with you," he whispered. "Not because of the contract, because I can't imagine my life without you in it." Elena's hands trembled as she touched his face. "What are you saying?" "Stay. After the 30 days. Be with me. Let's make this real." He kissed her softly. "What if we actually tried for this baby? Not as part of a deal, but because we both want it? Kai, I want to see you round with my child, want to watch you grow, be there for every moment." His hand splayed over her stomach. "I want to be a father to this child, if there is one, and a partner to you, a real one." Elena felt something break open in her chest, hope and terror warring. "I'm scared." "So am I." He kissed her again. "But I've never been more sure of anything. Stay with me, Elena. Choose me." Elena, breathless and undone, kissed him softly. "Ask me again in 15 days. Is that a yes?" "It's a maybe." She smiled through tears. "But it's not a no." Kai held her close, and for the first time since Juliet died, he let himself hope. Neither of them saw the shadow outside the window, or the phone camera capturing their silhouettes against the bedroom light. Draven smiled as he reviewed the photos, already composing the message he'd send tomorrow. "Tick-tock, cousin. Hope she's worth losing everything for." Day 18 arrived with sunshine that felt like a lie, bright and cheerful when Elena's stomach had been knotting itself into impossible shapes since dawn. Kai had suggested it over breakfast, his hand covering hers across the marble table, those dark eyes softer than she'd ever seen them. Let me meet him properly. Let me spend time with Noah. If we're doing this, if we're building something real, I want to know your son. Now, standing on Sandpoint Beach with the Bristol Channel stretching endlessly before them, watching Kai crouch in the sand beside her 6-year-old, Elena felt her carefully constructed walls crumbling to dust. Noah had been suspicious at first, hiding behind her legs, but Kai had knelt to his level and said with complete seriousness, "Your mom tells me you're an expert on dinosaurs. I need some advice. If a T-Rex fought a Spinosaurus, who would win?" Noah had considered this with the gravity of a scholar. What terrain? Kai had smiled, genuine and warm. Land. T-Rex. Better bite force. Then, after a pause, "Are you Mummy's boyfriend?" Elena had frozen, but Kai handled it with grace. "I'm your mum's friend, and I'd like to be yours too, if that's okay with you." Noah had studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, but you have to help me find sea glass." "Deal." Now, 2 hours later, Kai was building an elaborate sandcastle complete with moat, while Noah directed the construction with the authority of a tiny architect. "No, the tower needs to be higher. Dragons need space." Kai adjusted the tower without argument, his expensive clothes covered in sand, his hair mussed by the wind, and Elena's heart did something dangerous in her chest. He caught her watching and smiled, that rare, unguarded smile that made him look years younger, and she had to look away before she said something she couldn't take back. They bought ice cream from a vendor, chocolate for Noah, vanilla for Elena, and Kai ordered something with salted caramel that Noah eyed with interest. Without hesitation, Kai switched cones with him. "Try it. If you like it better, it's yours." Noah took a careful lick, his eyes widening. "It's good." "Then it's yours." Kai took the chocolate without complaint, and the casual generosity of it, the easy way he made her son smile, made Elena want to cry. Later, while Noah hunted for sea glass along the waterline, Kai pulled Elena against his chest, his arms wrapped around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. "He's incredible. You've done an amazing job with him. I had help, my sister, my parents before they passed. Still, he's smart, kind, curious. That's all you." Kai's hand splayed possessively over her stomach. "I hope ours is like him." Elena covered his hand with hers. "You really want this? Not just an heir for the company, but an actual child? Midnight feedings and tantrums and parent-teacher conferences?" "I want it all." He turned her in his arms, his dark eyes fierce. "I want you round with my baby. I want to feel them kick. I want to pace hospital floors and argue about names and wake up to a house full of noise and life." His voice dropped. "I want to marry you properly, not some rushed registry office transaction. I want Noah to be mine too, if he'll have me. I want a family, Elena, with you." She kissed him there on the beach, with the sun warm on their faces and the sound of her son's laughter carrying on the wind, and let herself believe it might be possible. That night, after they'd dropped Noah back with Teresa, the ride to the penthouse was quiet. Kai held her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her wrist, but Elena could feel tension radiating off him. Inside, he pulled her immediately to the bedroom, his mouth finding hers with desperate hunger. "I can't stop thinking about it," he growled against her lips, already pulling at her clothes. "You, me, Noah, a baby, a real family." He stripped her efficiently, reverently, then laid her on the bed and knelt between her thighs. His hands pushed her legs wider, exposing her completely, and Elena flushed under his hungry gaze. "Beautiful," he murmured. "Every part of you." Then his mouth was on her, tongue and lips working with devastating skill, and Elena's back arched off the bed. Kai took his time, bringing her to the edge again and again, but never letting her fall, until she was shaking and pleading. "Kai, please, I need—" "What do you need, baby? Tell me." His voice was dark, silk and sin. "You, inside me. Please." He rose over her, positioning himself at her entrance, and pushed in slowly. They both groaned at the sensation. "I love you," he said, his forehead pressed to hers. "I love you so much." "I love you too," she gasped, as he seated himself fully. After, wrapped in his arms, Elena felt peace settle over her like a blanket. Everything was going to be okay. They would make it work. In 12 days, the arrangement would end, and their real life would begin. She didn't see Kai's phone light up on the nightstand, didn't see the text that made his jaw clench even as he held her closer. "Enjoying your little family fantasy, cousin? Pity it's built on lies. Does she know the whole truth yet?" Tick-tock. Day 22 dawned grey and cold, Bristol's typical autumn weather settling in with a vengeance. Kai left early for an emergency board meeting, kissing Elena deeply before he went. "I'll be back by lunch. Don't miss me too much." She'd smiled against his lips. "I'll try to contain myself." Now, alone in the vast penthouse, Elena wandered restlessly. She'd been trying to write Noah a letter, something to explain everything when the 30 days were over, but the words wouldn't come. She needed paper, a nice pen, something better than the notepad by the kitchen phone. Kai's office seemed like the logical place to look. She'd been in there before, perched on his desk while he worked, but she'd never gone through anything. It felt like a violation. But surely he wouldn't mind if she just grabbed some stationery. The main desk drawers held the usual: pens, paper clips, business cards. She found good paper in the second drawer and was about to leave when she noticed the bottom drawer was slightly ajar. Not locked like it usually was. The lock mechanism was visible, but someone had left it open. Elena knew she should walk away, knew she should respect his privacy, but something made her pull the drawer open fully. Inside were file folders. She recognized her name on one and pulled it out with trembling hands. The first page was a surveillance photo of her and Noah at the park, dated 6 months before Davian's death. Her blood went cold. She flipped through more photos, dozens of them. Her shopping for groceries, playing with Noah at the beach, working in the Harbour Lights garden, all dated months before Kai had appeared on that cliff. Underneath the photos were financial records. Davian's gambling debts, itemized and detailed. But these weren't collection notices. These were transaction records. Payments made by someone named Draven Young to a private club called the Crimson Hand. Dates, amounts, all corresponding to the nights Davian had told her he was working late. Then she found the contract. Not their contract, the one she'd signed. A different one, dated 8 months ago. Her hands shook so badly she could barely read it, but certain phrases leaped out like accusations. Party A, Draven Young, agrees to facilitate the systematic financial destruction of Davian Rossi through rigged poker games at the Crimson Hand private club. Party B, Kai Young, agrees to compensate Party A with the sum of £200,000 upon successful acquisition of target debt. Target subject, Elena Rossi, will be rendered financially desperate and therefore amenable to alternative arrangements. The paper slipped from her fingers. Elena stared at it on the floor, her vision tunneling. They'd planned it. Kai and Draven, working together, had deliberately destroyed Davian, had driven him to such desperation that he'd... She ran to the bathroom and vomited. When Kai came home 2 hours later, cheerful and bearing takeout from her favorite restaurant, Elena was sitting in his office chair. The contract lay on the desk in front of her. Her face was white as bone. He froze in the doorway. "Elena, you did this." Her voice sounded far away, hollow. "You and Draven. You destroyed Davian together. This whole time, you've been lying to me." Kai set down the food carefully. his face going blank, shuttered. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" She stood, the chair skittering back. "That you orchestrated my husband's gambling addiction? That you systematically ruined him so you could swoop in and buy me? That every single thing about us has been a lie from the very beginning?" "Not everything." He took a step toward her. "Elena, yes, I planned the acquisition. Yes, I manipulated the situation. But falling in love with you, that was never part of the plan. You have to believe me." "Believe you?" She laughed, the sound jagged and broken. "You've been watching me for months. You engineered my husband's death." "He wasn't supposed to kill himself." Kai's voice went hard. "He was weak, Elena. I just accelerated his self-destruction. He made those choices. You gave him the gun." She was screaming now, all her control shattering. "You set up the games. You made sure he'd lose. You drove him to such desperation that he saw no way out. And you did it to get to me." "Yes." Kai's own control broke. "Yes, I did it to get to you, because I wanted you and I take what I want. But that doesn't change what we have now, what we've built together." Elena stared at him. This beautiful monster she'd let into her bed, her body, her heart. "What we built is a lie. Everything is a lie. The beginning was a lie." He crossed to her quickly, gripping her shoulders. "But us? What we have now, that's real, Elena. When I tell you I love you, I mean every word." She shoved him away, fury giving her strength. "How can I ever believe you? How can I trust a single word out of your mouth when everything was calculated? I trusted you." Her voice broke. "I let you touch me, let you inside my body, inside my heart, and it was all built on lies and manipulation and my husband's corpse." Kai flinched, like she'd struck him. "Elena, please. Did you choose me because I look like her?" The question came out quiet, deadly. "Juliet," Draven said, "I look like your dead wife. Is that why you wanted me? Am I just some replacement for what you lost?" For a moment, just a moment, something guilty flashed across Kai's face. It was enough. Elena felt something inside her die. "Get away from me. Elena, get away from me." She was crying now, huge gasping sobs. I can't look at you right now. I can't." Kai's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "What do you want me to do? I want you to leave me alone. I want—" She pressed her hands to her face. "I need you to not touch me. Not tonight. I can't." His face went carefully blank. "I'll sleep in the guest room." He started to leave, then turned back. "Elena, I know you don't believe me right now, but I love you. That's not a lie. That's the only true thing in my entire goddamn life." He paused. "We're not done. I'm not letting you go." Then he left, and Elena collapsed on his office floor, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, and cried until she had nothing left. In the guest room, Kai pulled out his phone with shaking hands and called Draven. His cousin answered on the first ring, amusement clear in his voice. "Trouble in paradise?" "What did you do?" Kai's voice was deadly quiet. "Me? I simply visited yesterday while you were at the office. Had a lovely chat with your assistant, charmed my way into your office for a moment. You really should lock your drawers properly, cousin. You left it open. You wanted her to find it." "I wanted her to know the truth." Draven's voice hardened. "You're getting soft, Kai. Playing house with your little widow, forgetting what matters. The company, the legacy. You think the board will accept her? The wife of a man we drove to suicide? We—" Kai's laugh was bitter. "I have records too, Draven, of your involvement. If I go down, you're coming with me. But you won't go down, because you're Kai Young, the untouchable bastard who always wins." A pause. "Enjoy your last 8 days, cousin. I'll be ready to take over when you fail." The line went dead. Kai sat in the darkness, his head in his hands, and wondered if he'd finally destroyed the only good thing he'd ever had. In the master bedroom, Elena cried herself to sleep, one hand pressed to her stomach, where Kai's child might already be growing. The next morning was agony. They moved around each other like ghosts, not speaking, not touching. Kai made coffee. Elena pretended to drink it. He left for work without kissing her goodbye for the first time in weeks. Elena spent the day in a fog, trying to process, trying to understand. He'd engineered everything. Her desperation, her vulnerability, her complete dependence on him. He'd manufactured the perfect trap, and she'd walked right into it. But the other things, the renovated inn, the gentleness with Noah, the way he looked at her like she was his entire world. Could someone fake that? On day 23, she felt nauseated. Day 24, the nausea got worse. Day 25, she could barely keep anything down. Elena stared at the pregnancy test box in the pharmacy bag for a full 10 minutes before she could make herself open it. 3 minutes later, she stared at the 2 pink lines and felt her world tilt on its axis. Pregnant, she was carrying Kai's child. The child he'd orchestrated everything to create, the heir he needed to save his company. The baby that was part of a transaction, a business deal, a calculated move in a game she hadn't even known she was playing. But also, the baby she'd let herself want. The future she'd let herself dream about. Elena sat on the bathroom floor, one hand pressed to her still flat stomach, and tried to decide if this was a blessing or a curse. She was still sitting there when the penthouse door burst open. She heard raised voices, footsteps, and scrambled to her feet. In the living room, Draven stood with 2 security guards and 2 men in expensive suits. Lawyers, she guessed. Draven smiled when he saw her, cold and triumphant. Mrs. Rossi, or should I say Mrs. Young, though I don't think that registry office ceremony really counts, does it? His eyes dropped to the pregnancy test she was still clutching. Well, interesting timing. Elena's hand instinctively covered her stomach. What are you doing here? Kai Young is hereby removed as CEO of Young Hospitality Group, effective immediately. One of the lawyers stepped forward, reading from a document. The board voted this morning. Unanimous decision. Failure to produce confirmed heir within the agreed timeframe. Controlling interest now transfers to Draven Young per company bylaws. The world spun. What? Draven's smile widened. Kai needed proof of conception by day 30. It's day 25 and he's got nothing. Well, he might have something now. He nodded at the test. But is it real? How do we know it's his? How do we know you're not lying to save his empire? I'm not lying. Doesn't matter. Draven gestured to the guards. This penthouse is corporate property. You have 1 hour to vacate. You can't just... I can, and I am. He pulled out his phone, showed her a live video feed, and Elena's heart stopped. Noah, her son, bound and gagged in what looked like a warehouse, tears streaming down his terrified face. Elena screamed. Your sister's apartment has such poor security, Draven said conversationally. Amazing what you can accomplish with a few £100 and a distracted babysitter. You monster! Elena lunged at him, but one of the guards caught her. He's 6 years old, he's a child. He's leverage. Draven's voice went cold. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to confirm that pregnancy test is fake. You're going to tell the board Kai failed. And if you do exactly what I say, you'll get your son back, unharmed. Where is Kai? Elena's voice shook. Emergency board meeting. Should be done right about. Draven checked his watch. Now. The elevator dinged. Kai stepped out, his face thunderous, and took in the scene. Draven, the lawyers, the guards, holding Elena. His expression went deadly. Get your hands off her. The guards released Elena immediately. She ran to Kai and he caught her, his arms coming around her protectively. What the hell is this, Draven? A coup. Try to keep up. Draven's smile was all teeth. The board voted you out. I'm CEO now. This penthouse is mine, and your little pet has information I need. Kai's arms tightened around Elena. She's not telling you anything. Not even to save her son? Draven showed him the video feed. Kai went absolutely still. Elena felt every muscle in his body turn to stone. When he spoke, his voice was quieter than she'd ever heard it, and somehow more terrifying because of it. Release him, now. Or what? Or I destroy you. Draven laughed. You're not in a position to threaten anyone, cousin. You failed. No heir, no company. It's over. Kai looked down at Elena, at the pregnancy test still in her shaking hand. His eyes widened. Is that... She nodded, tears streaming. Yes, I'm pregnant, Kai. Something blazing and possessive flashed across his face. He turned back to Draven. I have proof of conception. She's pregnant. That's my heir. Now release her son, or I'll... Proof? Draven's eyes narrowed. How convenient. She just happened to test positive today, right when you need her to? Please. For all I know, you paid her to lie. That test could be fake. She could have been pregnant before your little arrangement. He stepped closer. Here's what's going to happen. Kai, you'll sign over your remaining shares to me quietly, or I release the full contract, the one showing you conspired to drive an innocent man to suicide, to the press and the police. You'll be ruined, jailed, probably. He turned to Elena. And you, sweetheart, I'll let you keep the inn. You've suffered enough. But that baby you're carrying, if it's even real, that's still a young heir. Might be useful down the line. How far would you go to protect the people you love, even if it meant sacrificing everything you'd fought for? Kai's hand found Elena's, squeezed hard. You have 24 hours, Draven. That's it. No, cousin. You have 24 hours. Sign the papers or I destroy you both. Draven gestured to his lawyers and guards. Let's go. This is boring. They filed out, leaving Kai and Elena alone in the suddenly cavernous penthouse. The silence was deafening. He has my son. Elena's voice was barely a whisper. I know. Kai pulled her to the couch, his hands shaking as he cupped her face. Are you really? Are you pregnant? Yes. Fresh tears spilled over. His hand moved to her stomach, splaying possessively. My baby. The heir you needed. Her voice was hollow. No. Kai forced her to meet his eyes. Our baby. Yours and mine. Not a transaction, not a chess piece. Ours. He's going to take Noah. He's going to take everything. No, he's not. Kai's voice hardened. Listen to me, Elena. I know you're angry. I know I betrayed you. I know I don't deserve your help or your trust. But right now, we need to work together. Can you do that? Can you put aside what I did and help me get your son back and destroy my cousin? Elena looked at this man who'd orchestrated her husband's destruction, who'd manipulated her into his bed, who'd made her fall in love with him while lying through his teeth. She should hate him. Part of her did hate him. But he was also the father of her child, and Draven had Noah. What do you need me to do? Relief flooded Kai's face. He pulled her against his chest, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. Did you record anything during Draven's confession just now? Elena's mind raced. My phone was in my pocket. It has voice activation for, oh God. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands, opened the recording app. A file from 15 minutes ago. She'd accidentally activated it. She played it back. Draven's voice came through clearly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to confirm that pregnancy test is fake. You're going to tell the board Kai failed. And later, sign over your shares, or I release the full contract, the one showing you conspired to drive an innocent man to suicide. Kai's eyes blazed. You recorded him confessing to conspiring with me. I know it implicates you too, but But it proves Draven isn't innocent. That he was equally involved in Davian's destruction. Kai started pacing, his mind clearly racing. We can use this. The board hates scandal. If we show them Draven orchestrated this with me, that he's been manipulating everything from the start, including this coup, they'll vote him out too. Maybe, probably. Kai stopped, ran his hands through his hair. But we need more. We need to get married, properly establish legal claim to the heir. We need medical confirmation of your pregnancy. We need leverage on where he's keeping Noah. He turned to her. Elena, I need you to trust me one more time. I know I don't deserve it. But please. She looked at him for a long moment. If we do this, if we fight together, I need the truth. All of it. No more lies. He sat down heavily, pulling her to sit beside him. I chose you because you look like Juliet. Not exactly, but similar enough that when I saw your photo in the surveillance reports, it felt like a sign. His voice was raw, scraped clean of pretense. I'd been watching the Harbor Light for months, looking for investment opportunities. I saw you in the garden one day, and I couldn't look away. So I had you investigated. Found out about Davian's gambling, his debts, and I saw an opportunity. Elena's hands clenched in her lap. I told myself I was just being smart, strategic, that acquiring the debt would be a good investment, but the truth is, I wanted you. From that first moment, I wanted you. And I'm a man who takes what he wants. Kai looked at her, his dark eyes devastated. I orchestrated everything with Draven. We set Davian up to fail. I knew it would break him, but I didn't care. I wanted you desperate enough to accept any offer I made, even if it killed him. He wasn't supposed to die. Kai's voice cracked. I swear, Elena, I thought he'd just run away or divorce you or, I don't know. I didn't think he'd... He stopped, swallowed hard. His death is on me. I know that. I live with that. Why should I believe anything you say? But her voice was softer now, less angry. Because I'm telling you the worst of me, the parts I wanted you never to know. He took her hand, pressed it to his chest where his heart was racing. I chose you for the wrong reasons, but I fell in love with you for the right ones. Your strength, your fierceness, the way you love Noah, the way you fight me at every turn. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. You're not Juliet. You're Elena, and I love you. Not her ghost. I love you. Elena felt tears slip down her cheeks. I want to hate you. I know. But I can't. And I hate that I can't. Kai pulled her into his arms, and she let herself sink into his warmth and his strength. Help me destroy Draven. Help me get Noah back. Then, if you want to leave, I'll let you go. I'll give you the inn, the money, everything. I won't fight you for custody, I'll let you go. And if I don't want to leave? His arms tightened. Then I'll spend the rest of my life proving I deserve you. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other while the city glittered below. Finally, Elena pulled back. What's the plan? Kai's smile was sharp and dangerous. We get married tonight, registry office, legal and binding. Then tomorrow, we see your doctor, get official confirmation of pregnancy. Then we go to the board with the recording and the proof, and we burn Draven's world down. What about Noah? I'm already on it. Kai pulled out his phone, made a call. Mikhail, I need you to track a location. Video feed, probably cellular, coming from Draven's phone. A pause. Yes, I know it's illegal, I don't care. My stepson has been kidnapped and I need him found. Now. He hung up. Mikhail used to work for MI6. If anyone can find Noah, he can. Stepson? Elena's voice was small. Kai cupped her face. If you'll let me be. I meant what I said on the beach, Elena. I want to be a father to Noah. I want to be a husband to you. I want a family, a real one. She kissed him then, soft and seeking, and he responded with desperate tenderness. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena said, "Let's go get married then," again. They were married 90 minutes later in a small chapel, the registrar slightly confused by the urgency, but accommodating when Kai slipped him £500. Elena wore a simple white dress purchased from a boutique that was closing. Kai wore his work suit, and there were no guests, no flowers, no music. But when Kai slid the ring on her finger, a gorgeous diamond that he'd apparently been carrying in his pocket for days, and said, "I don't deserve you, but I'll spend my life trying to—" Elena felt something settle in her chest. The kiss was soft and sweet and full of promise. The registrar looked vaguely uncomfortable. "We should get you home. You need rest. You're pregnant. You need to take care of yourself." The tenderness in his voice made her chest ache. "Kai." "Yes, love? We're going to be okay, aren't we?" His arms tightened around her. "I'll make sure of it. I promise." The next morning, Kai's phone rang at 6 a.m. Mikhail. "I found him. Warehouse in Street Phillips, near the old tobacco factory. 2 guards. I've got eyes on the location." Kai was out of bed in seconds. "Don't engage. Wait for police." He called his contacts, pulled strings, and within an hour, armed police were raiding the warehouse. Kai and Elena waited in the car, her hand gripped so tight in his it hurt, until an officer emerged carrying Noah. Her son was crying, terrified, but unharmed. Elena was out of the car before it fully stopped, running to him. "Baby, baby, I'm here. Mummy's here." Noah clung to her, sobbing. "There were bad men. They tied me up. I was scared." "I know, sweetheart. I know, but you're safe now." She looked up as Kai approached, and something in her son's face changed. "You came," Noah said to Kai. "The men said no one would come, but you did." Kai knelt beside them. "Of course I came. You're my family. I'll always come for you." Noah launched himself at Kai, little arms wrapping around his neck, and Kai caught him, holding him close. His eyes met Elena's over their son's head, and she saw tears there. Her family, broken and strange and built on lies, but hers. At 9 a.m. on day 29, Elena and Kai walked into the Young Hospitality Group boardroom. 12 board members sat around a massive table, Draven at the head with a satisfied smirk. Octavian Vale, the chairman, looked tired. "Mr. Young, Mrs. Young, this is highly irregular." Kai set down a folder. "I have proof of conception. Medical confirmation from Dr. Sarah, dated this morning. My wife is 2 weeks pregnant with my child, within the deadline." Draven leaned back. "How convenient. And how do we know the child is yours? She was married before." "Her husband died 4 months ago. The timing makes it impossible for the child to be his." Kai's voice was cold. "But if you require DNA testing post-birth, I'm amenable." Murmurs around the table. Octavian frowned. "This does complicate things. The vote yesterday was predicated on your failure to produce an heir. A vote orchestrated by my cousin through manipulation and lies." Kai nodded to Elena. She stepped forward, hands shaking, and played the recording. Draven's voice filled the room, damning and clear. "Sign over your shares, or I release the full contract, the one showing you conspired to drive an innocent man to suicide." The room erupted. Draven's face went white, then red. That was taken out of context." "Really?" Kai played a second recording, one Elena hadn't heard before. Draven's voice, drunk, bragging at what sounded like a club. "Juliet's accident wasn't an accident. I cut her brake lines. Kai needed to be broken to be controlled. Losing his wife and unborn child did the trick." Silence. Absolute, devastating silence. Kai's voice was deadly quiet. "You killed my wife, you killed my son, and you used their deaths to control me for 5 years. Draven stood, knocking his chair back. "You have no proof. That recording could be fake. The metadata shows date and location. The voice analysis confirms it's you." And I have security footage from the parking garage the night Juliet died showing you near her car. Kai's smile was terrifying. I've been building this case for months, cousin. Ever since I realized the brake failure was too convenient. What would justice look like for someone who destroyed so many lives in pursuit of power? Octavian Vale stood. Mr. Draven Young, you're hereby removed from this board and this company, effective immediately. Security will escort you out. The authorities have been notified. Police officers entered as if on cue. Draven looked wildly around, trapped. His eyes landed on Kai, full of hatred. You think you've won? She'll never forgive you. You're still the man who killed her husband. Kai's hand found Elena's. I know, but she's standing here anyway. That's more than you'll ever have. As Draven was led away in handcuffs, he lunged suddenly toward Elena. This is your fault. You're just a cheap replacement for a dead woman. Kai moved faster than thought, his fist connecting with Draven's jaw with a sickening crack. Draven dropped. Don't you ever speak to my wife in that manner again. Security dragged Draven out, still screaming threats. The board members looked shell-shocked. Octavian cleared his throat. Mr. Young, in light of new evidence, the board votes to reinstate you as CEO. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Kai nodded curtly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to take my pregnant wife home. Outside in the car, Elena started laughing, hysterical, relieved, exhausted laughing. Kai pulled her close, and she felt him shaking too. We did it, she said. You did it. That recording, your bravery, standing with me after everything I did. He kissed her temple. You saved us, Elena. We saved each other. That night, in bed, Kai held her close, his hand on her stomach where their child grew. One more day, he said. Tomorrow is day 30. The contract ends. I know. You could leave. Take Noah. Take the baby when they're born. Take the inn and the money and never look back. Elena turned in his arms, looked at this complicated, damaged, beautiful man. Or I could stay. Build a life with you, raise our children together, fight and love and make it work. Even knowing what I did? You're a monster, Kai Young, she said softly. But you're my monster. And I choose you. Every day I choose you. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, and they made love slowly, tenderly, whispering promises in the dark. Months later, Elena stood in the Harbourlight Inn's master suite, her hands resting on her swollen belly. 9 months, pregnant, glowing, happy. Below, she could hear Kai and Noah playing on the beach, her husband teaching her son to skip stones. The inn's grand reopening had been a massive success. Fully booked for the next year, articles in travel magazines, everything she'd dreamed. Kai had insisted she run it herself, had hired staff to help, had supported every decision. He appeared in the doorway, sand in his hair, smiling. Noah wants to know if the baby can play dinosaurs when they're born. What did you tell him? That we'd teach them together. Kai crossed to her, wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her belly. Hello in there, it's your daddy. I can't wait to meet you. The baby kicked, strong and insistent, and they both laughed. They're active today, Elena said. Like their mother. Kai kissed her neck. I love you. Have I mentioned that today? Only 3 times. I'm slacking. He turned her in his arms, kissed her deeply. I love you, Elena Young. You and Noah and this little one. You're my entire world. I love you too. She touched his face, still amazed sometimes that this was real. Even when you're impossible. He knelt suddenly, lifting her shirt, pressing kisses to her rounded stomach. I promise I'll be the father you deserve, little one. I'll protect you and love you and never let anything hurt you. You're so loved already, so wanted. Elena ran her fingers through his hair, her heart full to bursting. They'd come so far from that rainy night on the cliff, built something real from lies and manipulation and desperate choices. It wasn't perfect. They fought sometimes, over his controlling nature, over her stubborn independence. But they always came back together, always chose each other. Kai stood, pulled her close, and she felt safe, loved, home. The baby arrived on a snow-covered January morning, screaming her way into the world with Kai's dark hair and Elena's delicate features. They named her Emiliana. And when the nurse placed her in Kai's arms, Elena watched her ruthless billionaire husband cry for the second time since she'd known him. "She's perfect," he whispered, his voice wrecked with emotion. "She's absolutely perfect." "She looks like you," Elena teased from the hospital bed, exhausted and elated. Kai's eyes met hers, blazing with possessive heat even in this tender moment. "Her daddy is a bastard who got incredibly lucky." He carefully placed Emiliana in her bassinet, then crossed to Elena's bedside, leaning down to kiss her deeply. "Thank you. For her, for Noah, for choosing to stay when you had every reason to leave. You've given me everything." The end. If this story made your pulse race, your heart ache, or left you breathless during those steamy encounters, I'd love to hear from you. What moment hit you hardest? When Elena discovered Kai's betrayal and had to decide whether to fight alongside him or walk away? Could you forgive someone who orchestrated your greatest tragedy if they also became your greatest love? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share this story with someone who loves dark romance, with morally grey anti-heroes and heroines strong enough to match them. And if you're craving more stories of forbidden arrangements, enemies to lovers tension, and billionaires who'll burn the world down for the women they love, let me know what you want to see next. Your engagement fuels these stories, so talk to me. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in my next story. Lots of love.